Audrey on Twitter. Good morning, Ugo.
Hi, Ayo. Morning.
How you
How you
doing?
doing?
Do you know, I have a feeling very soon we're going to be introducing ourselves with our Twitter handle. Hi, my
Yeah,
name is
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
WhatsApp code.
yeah. Right, exactly.
And if you'd like to join the conversation, please go on to WhatsApp 0809 444 and you can also go on to Twitter at Smooth981FM. Use the hashtag BusinessExpress981. And we're also streaming live on YouTube as well.
All right, thank you so much. So there was no trading activity yesterday because, of course, it was, June, as I call it, as we called it yesterday, June 12th day, Democracy Day.
Democracy Day.
But we want to start with the stock market, Ugo Dre. So the day before, market was down by 0.73%, we're at 30,000 or so points. Ugo, I mean, we're talking downstairs looking at I think it was the 10 best performing stocks so far this year. I don't know which of those stocks would make your list. I just wanted to get your feeling on where the market is now. It doesn't seem that there's any catalyst pushing it. So what are your thoughts? Where are you on the market?
Yeah, the stock market has been in some kind of, I mean, you can call it recession. At least for the since last year, multiple quarters of negative growth. There's just no demand at all in the stock market. Demand has basically just disappeared. There's a lot of quality, stocks. To be fair, and the companies are actually, doing well, especially in the banking sector. Of course, pulled by CDN's, mouth-watering interest rates. So banks are actually posting good profits. Yet,
Right.
you see a lot of companies trading at price earnings ratio of less than 3 or at most 5 times. That's just incredibly low. So it's just a depressed market. I mean, and nobody just seems interested.
Wow.
And then you get a lot of messages from people saying, I mean, what can I invest in? Where they want to, and you tell them stocks, they're like,
Which stocks?
how? So nobody wants to go there. And so that's why, I mean, the top 10 list you just showed me now from Business Day, basically explains or tells you how things are. So my one stock is CNI leasing, and of course that's because of the share reconstruction, not necessarily because of some kind of strong fundamentals. Dangote flour mills, of course, that's because of this talk of it being sold. Thomas Wyatt, I mean, nobody even knows what it is.
Right.
And then of course MTN, you all know why, at 51% up, and the next is Red Star Express, that's 1% up. A lot of people don't even know what Red Star does.
Right.
Sterling Bank, Livestock Feed, Caverton, Union Bank, and of course Japan. And this is the same Union Bank that's basically writing off about 54 billion of accumulated losses of its share premium. So you see, and you don't see the kind of stocks. You see this list, and you don't see stocks that maybe you expect to see there, on the basis of their performance over the last, couple of years. So this is actually depressing, and it's not good at all. And that's why people say like something just needs to give, something needs to happen in this market. How do you drive demand? Remember back in the days, like in 2007, 8, when you actually had stockbrokers come to your house,
Right, to come and ask you to buy
an IPO or buy shares, you can make money. So that doesn't happen anymore. So it's as if the stockbrokers have just said, you know what, let's just hands up and wait for foreign investors. Whenever they come,
right,
then the market will pick up. But if they don't come, we won't do anything.
We'll just leave it at that.
And that's basically it. So nobody's really actually doing actual marketing, to retail investors, and because that's retail investors what's going to drive the stock market. Anyway, even when you're abroad, it's still retail investor money. Either package as some kind of fund, either a mutual fund or an ETF or a hedge fund or whatever. But it's mostly retail investor money or a pension fund. That's basically what drives stock markets. But here it's not like that at all. Even the pension funds that are forced to somehow hold equities, if you look at the pension fund index, it's down year to date, terribly down. And this is an index that holds some of the most important stocks in the market. So it's not a good thing at all. I think the stock exchange needs to look in the mirror and say, look, things just have to change. Can't go on like this.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Okay, wait, actually, sorry. You also just still on the stock market. You said perhaps we were talking a while back. You said maybe, if anything, maybe company earnings might push the market up, possibly.
Yeah. So at the end of the second half,
yeah,
like July, you might start to see stocks pick up again. But there's a little bit of bad news filtering in around the oil price.
Right.
And so you always watch it. I think oil price dipped below $60 or so a few days ago. So
yeah,
you got to look in that direction, and that should give you a cause of worry, because if that persists, then it's going to be difficult to see share prices go up because you still rely on foreign investors.
Right.
And these guys have things that they benchmark. So when they look at oil price, they just seem to pull out. And of course, there's this subtle, suspicion that there might be some kind of devaluation.
Your least favorite word.
It just pop up.
So Benga is going ahead. I'm sure he's probably read your tweet. He's saying the president has stated the government will lift 100 million people out of poverty. Is this possible without power? I believe if you solve the problem of power, we can accelerate development. And he's talking about roads. He says, is it impossible to get communities involved in the construction of roads in the communities? So you provide employment and money in people's pockets, not importing labor from China.
We need to vote Benga into office. This is along with you in your administration. Ugo Dre, we're going to talk about this. This was part of the president. Benga, thank you for your message. This was part of the president's Democracy Day speech. I mean, it's a I know how you feel about headlines like this, but I mean, the headline is we're going to take 100 million Nigerians out of poverty over the next 10 years. So I guess I wanted to try and flip it and say, just how do you lift people out of poverty? But what do you think? What are your thoughts?
I mean, easier said. I mean, if wishes were horses, like they say.
Right.
So, 100 million Nigerians, that's basically half the population of the country out of poverty. Not bad. I mean, I think the headline alone is actually a huge shame. You know what I mean? That you can actually have 100 million people and your president is admitting like 100 million people that are poor.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just terrible. And it's actually not a good headline at all. However, to lift this much people out of poverty, it's good that he referred to GDP, because for you to actually move people out and have people earn more, then you have to see rapid GDP growth rate. So you can't do this at single digit GDP growth, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. Not gonna work. You have to do 8, 9, 10%.
Like China levels.
Yeah, China levels, because what that means is that there's a lot of production happening across the country, either on the services sector or the manufacturing sector. The economy is basically booming, and then people are finding jobs, and not just jobs that actually pay very well. And then that's when you can start to see people move out. And it's not the kind of economic growth that will just be concentrated in Lagos or Abuja and Port Harcourt or something like that. It has to be across the entire country. So you see people in Ondo State staying back and trying to grow the Ondo State economy. You see people in Sokoto State staying back, Abia State staying back, and basically growing the economy. So for this to happen, there's got to be an inertia somewhere, something to force, something just has to move, something has to give, and that hasn't happened. I think the economy is kind of like bottled up in some kind of pressure bottle or something.
It needs to
something needs to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Either maybe they just drop tariffs or drop interest rates. There's got to be something, or pumping some kind of stimulus. The economy is in dire need of some kind of reform somewhere. The kind of boom that the telecoms reform, brought to the economy in the early days of democracy.
Yeah.
Something like that needs to happen again, maybe in the power sector, maybe in the manufacturing sector, maybe in the banking sector, maybe through fintech. I don't know, but something just needs to happen. So the government needs to an extent, either maybe take up subsidies on fuel, maybe that could help to an extent, create some kind of market or some kind of business. There's got to be something you have to do, but you can't, if you continue this way, maybe there are reforms might work, but it's just going to be very slow, painstakingly slow. And that's basically what most analysts are saying, that growth is going to remain, but it's going to be painstakingly slow. And we can't afford that kind of growth now. It's just too frustrating. So if wishes were us, is 100 million. Next 20 years, I don't know, man.
All right, we'll move from that. Thank you for that, Ugo Dre. We move from that to I don't know if I should call it fiasco exchange rate. The central bank has reacted to the exchange rates. How do I call this thing? Notification on its website. Where, anyway, help us out. They initially said it was market determined, and then what happened? They changed it back again.
Yeah. So I think a few days ago, some websites, including Nairametrics, picked it up and saw that the CBN website, where they usually have, there's this side on the right corner where they usually display inflation rate, exchange rate, oil price, and so it's been like that for years.
Right.
So then all of a sudden, where you usually have exchange rate, you just have 305.
Right.
Naira to the dollar, and then it's just a market determined.
And Bloomberg ran with the story.
Yeah, of course, like
Bloomberg.
What's going on here?
Right. Everybody.
Market, like, really? So is this some kind of subtle message? Are you telling us something that we need to know?
Right.
And then so it was it was strange, and of course you don't see things like that and just keep quiet. So you basically want to say, okay, look, let's loud it and tell us really what's exactly is going on. And to be fair to the CBN, though, if you actually click into that link, you'd actually see that you know, the prices displayed there were still the same.
At the 305,
306, 307 prices.
Hmm.
You know, but then why have that? You know, displayed there. So I spoke to somebody who's very, very, you know, high up connected to the CBN governor, and was saying that, look, the CBN governor said that it was just an error. Somebody within the bank that made an error on a quote, and that
What's an
maybe there's
error?
going to be disciplinary action or whatever, but that it's going to be changed. And of course, they did change it.
Right, they changed it back.
again. So we're like, please don't be testing it. Like,
Exactly, and
you
giving
know,
us.
yeah, and people are still wondering, maybe there's just something in there. Maybe these guys are basically like what would this people say?
Right,
Maybe happy,
testing
maybe
the
angry,
waters.
yeah, testing the waters. I don't know, because so one thing is clear, and one thing for your listeners to know is that, look, the government, the CBN currently, you know, has its own official rate at 305, and that's the rate that it sells dollars to, say, oil marketers, people who are importing oil, and, you know, people who have some kind of essential import or whatever to the country. So it sells to them at that rate. So that's basically subsidized. Then there's now the market determined rate, which is the one that you have in IE window, which is like 360, and of course in the parallel market.
Right.
So the CBN also plays in that market as well. So but when it sells there, it sells at that 360. When it buys at that 360. So that's why you have, you know, multiple exchange rates.
Right.
So in reality, it's actually 360.
Exactly.
It's just that the 305 is just for a small segment of the market. Maybe people traveling for Hajj or things like that. Those are the guys that they sell 305 to. So you just wonder, why still leave it at 305? Just
Exactly.
Just 360, and then always tell us who you sell at 305 to, and we can understand.
Thank you for that. Thank you
Alright.
for that. All right. So are we time
Out of
already?
Time, but we have time for some comments.
Okay.
All right, so Andrew from Victoria Land says 100 million people in 10 years. Let's start with 10 million in 1 year. And then we have Darlington from Apapa who says the president's speech yesterday didn't move me at all. He didn't break down how it will happen with a single seaport working an epileptic power sector. Please. And then Olufemi goes. He says his suggestion, listening to you and Rotus and Ugo Dre, is that the buy stocks that are most likely to give a dividend yield of at least 10% at current prices.
All right.
And then we have Daniel who says CBN doesn't sell to anybody at 305. And finally, we have MI from Akoka who says Silver Fox. If it came down to one thing, one catalyst, I would go with power. Just like Ayo mentioned yesterday, you wouldn't have to lift people out of poverty. They will book flights, take the bus, and even jog far from below the $2 line.
So he's with you. Yes. Ayo's administration, power, first and foremost.
All right.
Thank you all for your messages. Ugo Dre of Nairametrics. Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thanks a lot, Rotus. You can follow him at Rotan Quotes.
Yes.
Rotankwot.
All right.
Good morning.